So considering the new remake of It is one of the biggest movies around and has been for over a month now, I thought I'd go back in time a little bit and talk about the original, mostly because I haven't actually seen the new one yet, so can't really talk about it. Stephen King is a fantastic author and his books have been adapted into some of the best and worst movies of the past couple decades. One of the most loved of these adaptations is the original It, a 1990 TV miniseries that was released on home video as a 3-hour-long movie. I've heard praise non-stop about this movie. In fact, people have been asking me to review it every single year since the very first horror season. So I decided to finally check it out, partly because I thought as a genre fan it was an essential film to watch, and also partly because I really liked the look of the remake. So what did I think of it? It was okay. That's about it really. I wasn't blown away by it, but I enjoyed it. Kind of, I guess. I thought the story was good, there were some really well directed, somewhat creepy moments, and I thought that the acting was actually pretty solid for a TV movie from this era. The plot of the film revolves around a group of kids/adults. In 1960, the kids are haunted by a killer clown known as Pennywise, played by Tim Curry. Pennywise is going around and murdering children. After killing the brother of a boy named Bill, Pennywise starts to scare him and his friends. One day they manage to defeat Pennywise and they all grow up and move on with their lives, but they promise each other that if he ever comes back that they will return to Maine to defeat him once and for all. Fast forward 30 years and Pennywise has returned. The group, all now living separate lives, have to put everything on hold to team back up to put an end to him. When they get to Maine, Pennywise starts to haunt them again and tells them to leave the town or they will die. The film blends the past and present together and goes back and forth between the two, mostly in the first half of the film anyway. The second half is almost all set in the present, and right off the bat, the stuff in the past is so much better. I found the bits with the children just to be way more entertaining and well made. The horror set pieces are much scarier. The scenes of the children finding out what it actually is are incredibly interesting. In fact, possibly even more interesting than most of the all of the scenes of the adults. You see way more of Pennywise in this part, but he's portrayed in a way that is actually a little bit creepy. Whereas when he shows up in the present, he is actually ridiculous. The library scene is so stupid and not scary in the slightest. A big problem I have with the film is how they organise the scenes. Although I've not read the book, a big criticism I've heard about the film when compared to the book is how they organise the flashbacks. In the books, the events of the past and present kind of run parallel to each other, whereas in this film, every once in a while there is a flashback to a bunch of stuff that happened that runs for 15 minutes and then it just goes back. And there's like no connections between these flashbacks and what actually happens in the present either. And there are moments later on where they randomly have to add extra scenes in because they forgot to place them in earlier into the film. The flashbacks just seem really disjointed and don't fit in at all. I think either they should have had both stories running parallel like apparently the book does, which I've not read it so I wouldn't actually know, or they should have kind of like split it into 2 separate episodes and had one focusing on the past and one focusing on the present. That's exactly what they've done with the new movie adaptation are going to do with its upcoming sequel as well. This is honestly a big problem with the film, and it kind of ruined my enjoyment of the first part. Everything about the child scenes work much better than the adult scenes. The tension is completely lost later on in the film, and it honestly just got to the point where I was just super bored. I stopped caring because the characters aren't really that interesting when they grow up. They're certainly not super interesting when they're children, but the scenes are way more entertaining so you don't mind. Also, funnily enough, the child acting in this movie is actually better than the adult acting. I know, who would have thought? That's incredibly rare. The horror set pieces in the first half of the film are incredibly well done. Scenes like the drain, sink and shower scenes are really well paced, tense and very memorable. Of course the effects and stuff don't hold up in the slightest, but you know, it is still pretty good if you can look past the dated effects. But apart from that, I think the set pieces just start to become more and more forgettable as the film progresses. I honestly don't really remember any of the scares after the library scene, if there even are any. Tim Curry's performance is really good. He steals the show. He's over the top hilarious, but at times a little bit creepy also. The shots of him standing in the distance are actually really pretty eerie and create some of the most tense moments in the film. His scenes are some of the best in the movie. Even in the terrible second half, he actually still does a good job. But yeah, the second half is so bad, there isn't really a lot that can save it. The second half just becomes so stupid, so melodramatic, and so uninteresting. It kind of ruins the film for me. I don't really want to have to watch an hour and a half of shit just because the first hour and a half was pretty decent. The film all leads up to a big climax, which I won't spoil, but the climax is one of the most ridiculous and stupid things I've ever seen. The climax is just awful. I honestly was just in awe of what was happening. I watched the Nostalgia Critics review back in the day when it came out, and I was still shocked when I actually saw the ending happen in the film. Honestly, all in all, I think this film is incredibly overrated. There are some really great moments in the film, but it's surrounded by so much crap that it just ruins the film for me. I can't really say I recommend this film. Hopefully the new film is better because it's got a great story, and I've heard loads of people say it's really good and one of the best horror films of the year, so maybe I'll enjoy it, maybe I won't. I guess we'll have to wait and see, and maybe I'll do a review of it in the future, I guess. I don't actually know. So I give the original Stephen King's It a 5 out of 10.